Let's talk personal finance, right? Uh, there are a lot of folks out there with little to no idea about how to get started and being financially responsible and managing your own personal finances, right? So that was the impetus for me making this video in the first place. It's a difficult thing in that it takes time and compounding over time to get where you likely want to be with regard to personal finances. But it's easy in the sense that regardless of where you're at, the main thing you have to do is start. And once you start, you're essentially there. You start, and part of that starting is remaining consistent, right? So you're doing the same things week after week, month after month. And then once you have that in place and you have it as a habit, you're already there, right? You're creating your nest egg, right? And small as it may be in the beginning, you're doing it, right? You have a nest egg and you're growing it, and you're nurturing it, and that's what you want to do. A lot of folks, they sock a little bit of money away, maybe during tax season, they get a return. They have that money there, and then they squander it every second they get a chance, and it never gets a chance to grow. And generally, the reason that I hear is that they have to, because they have no other money, right? They don't have a choice. They need the money. The fact of the matter is, though, we need to grow our nest egg, right? That is another need, a very strong need. And I would argue
there's a lane closure ahead.
I would argue that it's greater than the need for whatever you're doing right now with the money, whatever you have slated for those funds. Because without that nest egg, without that habitual growing and nurturing of your nest egg, it doesn't grow, right? It doesn't grow. You don't have it, and it's just non-existent. And day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, you're still in that same situation. So the habit never gets formed, it never gets done, and then as a result, you never have them, right? There's no financial security ever reached or in sight, and as time goes on, as we get older and older, those opportunities get slimmer and slimmer, because the main thing on our side is time. The main ingredient to financial success is that time, right? So it's a critical factor in growing your net worth. So that's the prelude. I'm gonna give some very specific tips. One thing that comes up is savings, right? Savings account. We have generally about 3 different buckets, right? We have our retirement, we have our emergency fund, and then we have our personal investments. So let's start with our emergency fund. All right, we're going to want to fund that emergency fund immediately, right? So you're going to want at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved up. There's a couple of ways you could do that, but let's talk about just regular old savings accounts. High interest savings accounts come up. I used to be a big fan of them. I'm no longer a fan personally. They may be right for you. I'm not a fan anymore. I prefer to just use the same thing that those high interest savings accounts use, which is short-term treasury bonds, right? So you use short-term treasuries. You could either buy directly from the government, this website right here, which allows you to buy in pretty much any increments you want, right? Um, and then you have my personal favorite, which is restricted to at least $1,000 increments, right? $1,000 increments in purchasing these treasuries. But when you do that, you could do it, and you can have it auto roll yourself. So every 3 months, that money that you get the money back, your initial investment plus the interest for that time period for the 3 months, and then it auto rolls back into another 3-month treasury. I think that's the best way to do it. And my recommendation, again, this isn't financial advice. I'm not professing to be a financial professional. So do your own homework, of course. My recommendation, though, if
There's
I was
a 6-minute slowdown in 1.5 miles. You're still on the best route.
My recommendation, if I was to make one, would be to open up a Fidelity cash management account. You open up the Fidelity cash management account, and you start an auto roll of 3-month treasuries, right? And that'll give you the max percentage that's out there for those treasuries. That's basically what the banks would be investing your money that you put in with them. That's where they would be putting it, and they would give you a piece of that percentage, not the whole percentage, because they would make money on top of that. They need to make money themselves, right? But you could cut them out with that, doing it yourself. And you can set it up, and we'll go over strategies for managing that auto roll. But basically, that's what you want to get going. You want to get that auto roll going. That way, your money's safe. It's in treasuries, U.S. treasuries, right? How safe can you get? Doesn't get much more safe than that. And then you get that going, and then there's ways that you can have it so that when you need the money, if you ever need the money, you're not far away from being able to take money out. And so you're always going to have a set amount of funds becoming available outside of that 3-month lockup period. So that's the strategy.
There's a lane closure ahead.
That's the basic strategy, right? There's we'll get into the index funds and where to invest money when we get to that point. But short term, you're looking to build your emergency fund, and you don't want your emergency fund at risk, right? So that's the best way that I can tell anybody to minimize risk and still maximize the return on your investment. That's it. That's the beginning part. I wanted to put that out there, and as I said, we'll go into more details on ways to earn a higher return on cash. So looks like we're going again. That's good. Got most of the road blocked off. I'll be back.
In a quarter mile, keep right to continue on.
I'll be back with more in the way of details. Love, peace, God bless.
Continue for